You know what's interesting about the gym? When you're lifting weights, you train till failure. You do a set, you push harder, you push until you can't do another rep. You reach failure. And you know what? That's when growth happens. Failure is the point. Failure is where the muscle grows. Failure is where you get stronger. But here's the question: why don't we apply the same principle to the rest of our lives? At the gym, we embrace failure, we seek it out. We know it's the mechanism of growth. But in our careers, our relationships, our spirituality, our creativity, we avoid failure at all costs. We stay comfortable, we stay safe, we stay in the zone where we know we can succeed. And that's exactly where we stop growing. This is episode 28, and today we are talking about training to failure in our daily life, why growth happens at the edge of your capacity, and what it costs to stay comfortable. Let's go. Let me explain about the gym principle first, because it's the foundation of everything we're going to talk about. When you're at the gym, you're trying to build muscle. Muscle only grows when it's pushed beyond its current capacity. When you lift a weight that's easy, your muscle doesn't grow. Your muscle only grows when you push it to the point where it can't do another rep. That's failure. That's where growth happens. So at the gym, failure is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Failure is a sign that you're doing something right. Failure is the goal. Failure is the point. And this principle applies to everything, not just physical growth, mental growth, emotional growth, spiritual growth, creative growth, professional growth. Growth only happens when you're pushed beyond your current capacity. Growth only happens at the edge of your ability. Growth only happens at failure. But here's the problem: in most of our lives, we avoid failure. We stay in the comfort zone. We do things we know we can do. We stay safe. We stay comfortable. And when you stay in the comfort zone, you stop growing. You plateau, you stagnate, you become comfortable, and comfortable is the enemy of growth. There's a difference between the comfort zone and the discomfort zone. And understanding this difference is crucial. The comfort zone is where you already know how to succeed. You've done it before. You know the rules. You know the outcome. You're safe. You're comfortable. There's no risk. There's no failure. But there's also no growth. In the comfort zone, you're not learning anything new. You're not developing new skills. You're not becoming a different person. You're just repeating what you already know. The discomfort zone is where you don't know if you can succeed. You haven't done it before. You don't know the rules. You don't know this, you don't know the outcome. There's risk. There's potential for failure, but there's also growth. In the discomfort zone, you're learning new things. You're developing new skills. You're becoming a different person. You're pushing yourself beyond your current capacity. And here's the key: growth only happens in the discomfort zone. Growth only happens when you're pushed beyond your current capacity. Growth only happens at failure. So the question is, are you spending your time in the comfort zone or in the discomfort zone? Most of us spend most of our time in the comfort zone. We do our job, we know how to do it, we do it well. We are comfortable, we are safe, we are not growing. But the people Grow the fastest are the people who spend the time in the discomfort zone. They take on challenges they don't know how to handle. They try things they might fail at. They push themselves beyond their current capacity. And yes, they fail sometimes, but they also grow. They develop new skills. They become different people. They become who they are meant to be. So, if failure is where growth happens, why do we avoid it? There are a few reasons. First, there is fear. We are afraid of failing. We are afraid of looking foolish. We are afraid of being judged. We are afraid of not being good enough. And so we stay in the comfort zone where we know we can succeed. Second, there's shame. We've been conditioned to believe that failure is bad. Failure is something to be ashamed of. Failure is a sign that you're not good enough. So we avoid it. Third, there's the unknown. In the comfort zone, we know what is going to happen. We know the outcome. We are safe. But in the discomfort zone, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we'll succeed or fail. And that uncertainty is scary. But here's the thing, at the gym, we don't have these fears. We understand that failure is the mechanism of growth. We seek it out. We know that if we are not failing, we are not pushing hard enough. So, why don't we apply the same principle to the rest of our lives? Because we haven't been taught to. We've been taught that failure is bad. We've been taught to play it safe. We've been taught to stay in the comfort zone. But that's the wrong teaching. That's the teaching that's keeping us small. That's the teaching that keeps us from becoming who we are meant to be. The Bible understands this principle. It's woven through scripture. In James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, we read, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. James is saying that trials, that's failure, that's discomfort, that's being pushed to the edge. Trials produce perseverance, and perseverance produces maturity. This is exactly like training to failure at the gym. You push to failure, that produces perseverance, and perseverance produces growth. In Romans chapter 5, verses 3 to 5, Paul writes, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. There's a progression here: suffering, perseverance, character, hope. Each stage builds on the previous one. You suffer, that produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, character produces hope. This is the progression of growth. In Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, we read, therefore, since we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. We are called to run a race with perseverance. We need to throw off everything that hinders us. We need to push ourselves. We need to run hard. This is the mindset of training to failure. In Second Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 and 9, Paul says, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. Paul is describing being pushed to the edge, hard pressed, perplexed, persecuted, struck down, but not crushed, not destroyed. He's at the edge of his capacity, but he's still standing. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verses 24 to 27, Paul writes, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like somebody running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize." Paul is describing strict training. He's pushing his body to the limit. He's not running aimlessly. He's running to win. He's training to failure. He's doing this so he won't be disqualified. He's serious about growth. And in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, Paul says, "For the spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and a sound mind." We are not given a spirit of timidity. We are given power, the power to push beyond our comfort zone, the power to train to failure, the power to embrace discomfort. Let me give you some examples of people who understood this principle, people who trained to failure in their lives. Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of our time. But she didn't become great by staying comfortable. She trained to failure every day. She pushed her body to the limit. She competed at the highest level. She failed sometimes. She lost matches. But each failure taught her something. Each failure made her stronger. She trained to failure in a sport and became one of the greatest. Elon Musk built Tesla, failed, built SpaceX, failed, built Neuralink, failed. But each failure taught him something. Each failure made him smarter. Each failure pushed him to the edge of his capacity. He trained to failure in business and became one of the most innovative people in the world. Sara Blakely started Spanx with $5,000, pitched to department stores, got rejected, failed, pitched again, failed again. But each rejection taught her something. Each failure pushed her to improve her pitch, improve her product. She trained to failure in entrepreneurship and became a billionaire. The friend who stayed comfortable, he never took risks, never pushed themselves, stayed in the same job for 20 years, made the same salary and the same skills, never trained to failure, never grew, never became who they could have been. Looked back at 50 and wondered what could have been. The artist who never showed their work had talent but was afraid of failure, never submitted their work, never performed, never put themselves out there, never trained to failure, never grew, never became who they could have been. Stayed comfortable, stayed small. The entrepreneur who gave up, started a business, faced failure, got scared, went back to a comfortable job, never pushed through failure, never trained to failure, never grew, never became who they could have been. So let's talk what it means to train to failure in different areas of your life. In your career, training to failure means taking on projects that challenge you, means asking for the promotion you're not sure you can handle. It means learning new skills that are hard. It means putting yourselves in situations where you might fail, but that's where growth happens. In your relationships, training to failure means having difficult conversations. It means being vulnerable. It means risking rejection. It means saying things you're afraid to say. It means showing up in ways that make you uncomfortable because that's where intimacy happens. That's where connection happens. In your creativity, training to failure means creating things you're not sure are good. It means sharing your work. It means risking criticism. It means being willing to fail publicly. It means iterating. It means improving because that's where mastery happens. In your health, train to failure means pushing your body. It means running that extra mile. It means lifting the heavier weight. It means saying no to comfort. It means saying yes to challenge because that's where strength happens. In every area of your life, growth happens when you train to failure. Growth happens when you push beyond your current capacity. Growth happens when you embrace discomfort. But here's an important caveat: you don't train to failure every single day. At the gym, if you train to failure every day, you'd burn out, you'd get injured, you'd break down. So you train to failure strategically. You push hard, then you rest, you recover, then you push hard again. This requires wisdom. You need to know when to push and when to reset. Uh, you need to know when to push and when to rest. You need to know when to embrace discomfort and when to recover. The same principle applies to the rest of your life. You don't push to failure in your career every day. You don't have difficult conversations every day. You don't take on impossible projects every day, but you do push regularly. You do embrace discomfort regularly. You do train to failure strategically. This is the growth. This is the wisdom of growth. This is the balance between pushing and recovering. This is how you grow without burning out. Let me outline the progression of growth. This is what happens when you train to failure. First, you face failure. You push beyond your current capacity. You fail. You hit the wall. You can't do another rep. Second, that failure produces perseverance. You don't give up. You push through. Try again. You develop the ability to keep going even when it's hard. Third, perseverance produces character. You develop discipline. You develop resilience. You develop the ability to handle difficulty. You become a different person. Fourth, character produces hope. You know you can handle difficulty. You know you can push through failure. You know you can grow. You have the hope for the future. You have confidence in yourself. This is the progression: failure, perseverance, character, hope. This is how growth happens. This is how you become who you're meant to be. Let me be direct about this. Staying comfortable has a cost. The cost is stagnation. The cost is never becoming who you could have been. The cost is looking back at your life and wondering what could have been if you would be willing to push harder. There are people who stayed in the comfort zone their whole lives. They did their job, they made their money, they were safe, they were comfortable, but they never grew. They never developed new skills. They never became who they could have been. They never experienced the joy of pushing beyond their limits. They never experienced the satisfaction of achieving something difficult. They never experienced the growth that comes from failure. And at the end of their lives, they wonder. They wonder what they could have done if they'd been willing to push harder. They wonder who could they have become if they'd been willing to embrace discomfort. They wonder what opportunities they missed because they stayed comfortable. That's the cost of comfort. That's the price you pay for staying safe. Pushing to failure requires courage, real courage. It requires courage to fail. It requires courage to look foolish. It requires courage to be judged. It requires the courage to step into the unknown. It requires the courage to embrace discomfort. But this courage is available to you. In Second Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, Paul says, For the Spirit of God gave us, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and a sound mind. You're not given a spirit of timidity. You are given power, the power to push beyond your comfort zone, the power to embrace discomfort, the power to train to failure. And in Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, God says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Be strong and courageous. Don't be frightened. Don't be dismayed. You're not alone. God is with you. You have the courage you need. Here's what most people don't understand. People who train to failure develop an invisible advantage. They develop resilience. They failed before. They know they can handle it. They know they can push through. They're not afraid of failure. They develop wisdom. They've learned from their failures. They understand what works and what doesn't. They make better decisions. They develop character. They've pushed themselves. They've developed discipline. They've developed the ability to handle difficulty. They are different people. And this invisible advantage compounds over time. Year after year, they push. Year after year, they grow. Year after year, they develop resilience, wisdom, and character. And after 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years, they are completely different people. They're not the same person who started. They've been transformed by training to failure. And the person who stayed comfortable, they are the same person they were 10 years ago. They haven't grown, they haven't changed, they haven't developed resilience, wisdom, or character. That's the invisible advantage. That's what compounds over time. Here's my challenge to you. Identify one area of your life where you're staying comfortable. Is it your career? Are you doing the same job you've always done? Are you avoiding the promotion you want? Are you avoiding learning new skills? Is it your relationship? Are you avoiding difficult conversations? Are you avoiding being vulnerable? Are you avoiding showing up in ways that challenge you? Is it your spirituality? Are you going through the motions? Are you avoiding stepping out in faith? Are you avoiding growing? Is it your creativity? Are you not sharing your work? Are you not putting yourself out there? Are you avoiding the risk of failure? Identify one area and then commit to training to failure in that area. Don't do it recklessly. Don't do it without wisdom, but do it. Push beyond your current capacity. Embrace discomfort. Train to failure because that's where growth happens. That's where you become who you're meant to be. At the gym, you train to failure because you know that's where growth happens. Why not in daily life? Failure is where growth is. That's the truth. That's the path to becoming who you're meant to be. This is built, not felt by the Rice Code. I'll see you all in the next one.